It was just days before my eighth grade graduation, and I was excited. I was looking forward to beginning a new chapter of my life in high school. I was excited to see what my adolescent years had in store for me. I was looking forward to the thought of attending a magnet high school where I would spend the next 4 years in the Academy of Computer Science learning how to code and develop applications. Except for one part of me, the part that felt a little sad. My mom was not going to be at my graduation. 8 days before my graduation, my mom underwent a hysterectomy. Her recovery seemed to be going really well. And even though she wasn't going to be at my graduation, I was glad she was back home and recovering. But I guess life had different plans. 2 weeks post surgery, out of nowhere, the complications began. No one had any idea what was happening, not even the doctor who did her surgery. The doctor said everything had went really well during the surgery, so not to worry about it. My family and I hoped that the doctor was correct and that this was nothing serious. But it was. To cut the long story short, the doctor had accidentally, not once, but twice, stitched through her bladder during the surgery, which ended up causing a bladder fistula. To fix the damage caused during the initial surgery, my mom had to go through two more surgeries and 10 months of unwanted pain, uncertainty, and stress. I was just 13 years old when this all happened right before my eyes. Before it happened to my mom, I had no idea what a hysterectomy or what fistulas were, let alone how to correctly pronounce those words. I would see my parents visit the ER multiple times, sometimes even weekly. I would always see them trying to get appointments with different specialists just to get the best care for my mom. Even though my mom put on a brave face, I could see her silently suffering and fighting with every last ounce of strength she had. Fast forward to the summer of 2016. It was just a normal day, and I had just finished my SAT prep class for the day. And my dad came to pick me up. In the car ride home, he casually told me he was going to the hospital with a family friend to get his back checked out. A few hours later, he came back and he could barely walk properly and eventually could not even stand up by himself. The herniated discs in his lower back had gotten much worse, to the point that no medication or epidural steroid injection was making a difference. The disc in the back was pinching a major nerve that would not allow him to stand or walk without being in excruciating pain. And the only fix left was surgery. He was on complete bed rest for 6 months. He needed help doing basic functions such as standing up, walking, and he could not even go to work. Once again, I saw the same struggles show up, endlessly looking for appointments, trouble communicating complications and issues with doctors, and receiving timely care post surgery. From a young age, I witnessed both my parents suffer from their medical issues and go through several surgeries. For my mom, the 10 months of pain, unwanted stress, and anxiety were hell. Just to get the initial diagnosis of what was causing the complications took 2 to 3 weeks. This was followed by 10 months of trial and error treatments, therapies, and several complications. For my dad, it was 6 months of pain, struggle, and frustration. But the worst was always feeling scared, having so many unanswered questions, and not knowing what complications will arise tomorrow. As a spectator to their suffering, I can speak to the amount of difficulty they had accessing proper and timely care they needed. As a 13 and 16-year-old, I couldn't do anything to make their situation better or bring an end to their pain. I just felt helpless, but I knew they weren't the only ones suffering through this. During my time in high school, I worked on a hackathon project which would help diagnose sports related concussions right on the spot. And something about that project has stuck with me. Over the years, I became passionate about wanting to better the lives of patients going through trauma and illnesses. I want to create something which will help them take control of their health and not have to take a leap of faith or hope for the best like my family did. In my free time, I started exploring this old high school concussion project and decided to dig deeper. After having several conversations with traumatic brain injury and concussion patients of different ages and severities, And reading the many posts on online support groups, I discovered that they needed help. Currently, 5.3 million people are living with the long-term effects and disabilities caused by a TBI. The more patients I talked to, the more I started to sympathize with their journey towards recovery. I could see the pain and uncertainty that they faced and how they also lacked the proper care that they needed. One common ground I found between TBI patients and my mom is that they're both silent patients. They may look fine on the outside, but on the inside, they're struggling and suffering in pain. I always wonder, what if there had been some way for my mom to speak to the doctor from home, be able to get some medical guidance without having to go to the ER every time, or be able to better understand what she was going through, or at the very least, just have a place where she could find the answers to her questions. These are the same struggles that many TBI patients face in their daily lives. While I'm neither a doctor nor a nurse, I have experienced the devastating effects that health traumas and illnesses can have on patients and their families. And my career in computer science has shown me the kind of power that technology holds. It made me realize that the solution to help these silent patients lies at the intersection of a painful part of my life and my career path. I strongly believe that through modern technology and artificial intelligence, we can improve the quality of healthcare that is offered to these patients with silent injuries. I want to make a difference in the lives of patients who are fighting an inner battle that no one can see. People with medical illnesses and injuries are not the only silent people who are suffering in pain. There are many others who may look fine on the outside, but are not on the inside. We all have our stories and experiences. We don't really know who the silent people or the silent communities are around us until life forces our paths to cross. Before my mom's surgery, I had no idea what kind of pain these silent injuries or illnesses can cause. So if someday you meet these silent people or silent communities, I urge you to take a stand for them and be their voice. As Malala once said, when the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. So I urge you, be the voice of hope, the one that fights for the pain of the silent.